It's not even Halloween Horror Nights, but that doesn't mean that we can't go into 3 of the houses. So I'm going to take you into Hellraiser, HR Bloodengutz, as well as Abduction, Alien Invasion. I got my camera, no video, but I can show you inside the houses. We got checked in and they give you this cool little commemorative button for the 3 house tour. And then they also give you a lanyard. This one has both Jack and Oddfellow is on the back. Let's get into the houses, dude. So we start out and we are in the outside facade, and you will notice that there are lament configuration style boxes and crates. As we head inside underneath Pinhead, we get a hallway with a bunch of photos on there. It's like mainly like landscapes and whatnot, like entering the Cotton household. That's our first scene. And then we run into Frank Cotton, which this is how the beginning of Hellraiser 1. Remember, this whole entire house is Hellraiser 1, 2, and 3 all kind of combined. And it does make one contiguous story. There is all of these candles in like a seance, almost in the way that Frank is opening up the puzzle box. And in the corner, there's like a little tiny rat, which was kind of funny. And then we go immediately into a hallway that has like drapes and curtains. Now, you'll notice that on the sides, there are like little beams. Later on in the house, there's going to be like an elastic section where a scare actor can put their arm directly through that. But as we continue through, the big grand reveal is going to be the lament configuration, which is ripped open with chains. So you see lots of chains, lots of hooks. There's lots of gore in here. So if you're squeamish, this is a very, very gory house. And all of this is fake. So just heads up. But disclaimer. So you headed inside. Now, I couldn't film everything and take photos, so you'll just have to use your imagination. But here is Frank Cotton being flayed alive. This would be to me like the 25% of how intense this house is in terms of gore and flesh. You see skin being peeled, stretched. It's nasty, dude. And there's lots more rooms that are like that. In fact, we go through a whole entire hallway that's like that fleshy scene. We do see a bunch of mirrors, and then all the way at the end is Larry Cotton. Remember, Julia is sleeping with both Frank and Larry, and they both run into the puzzle cube themselves. There are lots of like mazes in labyrinths, because remember, this is how in like the demonic entity world, you enter into the labyrinth. Interestingly enough, this little tile section is doesn't have grout, but they use that to let light in. And then it says, "I am in hell, help me." Then there are these shutters, and I think that's like anytime that you see these like elevated sections, like position, lots of mirrors in here. It's very confusing. In the attic scene, you have danglers, which is pretty terrifying. But then we are going to see lots of like lament configuration, setups, and like research as we're heading into like kind of the second film at this point. And there's like just bloody chains everywhere. There's also like when you look on the ground, if you see any of these pedals, those are actor activated triggers. There's also triggers that are activated just by the house itself. And those would be NATs or non-actor activated triggers. They also have GATs, which are guest activated triggers. And there's only one that I saw throughout this. We kind of go in through like a sewery basement area, lots more labyrinth, lots more twig work. We end up going into Dr. Chenard's area where, like, remember, he's doing all those experimentation on all of his patients. They are strung up onto these hospital beds. They all have puzzle cubes in their hands, which is really creepy and gross. And then we end up seeing Chenard himself at this elevated position, and they're gonna have something on his head because he turns into a Cenobite himself in his quest for power. Then we leave outside of the hospital. There's like a mossy room, and there's some sort of like 3D high def LED screen that's going to be utilized in this little boo hole section. Then we head into Julia's house, and there's all of these just like bodies everywhere and candles. It's gross. Then we head on out. There's lots more twig work. We get to see a butt. We get to see a booty, which is yeah. Anyway, we'll see more of this person on the other side with the Pillar of Souls. There's lots of stuff in face, like things hanging in front of you. And then we actually get to see Pinhead in his human form right before, I think it was World War One in the first film. So we see him when he first bought the puzzle cube himself, and then you can see the chains go after him. We're here now in the trenches, so I would assume this is World War One. And we run into the boiler room. This was just paint that they had there. There's a whole entire bar set up and scene. There's this creepy baby. They have all these cocktails out. There's some figures on the walls, some alcohol. We do see Pinhead up here elevated against us, super creepy. They always put him up high to just make you feel like you're being dominated by him. And then we have this figure with the pillar of souls being like strewn apart and all fleshy nastiness. And then we're finishing up the last things that I can show you. And it's going to be like these gruesome bodies. This room was actually called Strobes and Blood. On the ground, you'll see matting. So we're going to get lots of water in this house for blood and intestines, and there's shutters, and it's going to be lots of strobe and very disorienting with scare actors as well. And then we finish up with a gauntlet. And a gauntlet, if you're not used to it, is a grouping of all the Cenobites, which I did find out that there will be times where there's cast A, B, and C. So this is going to be a repeatable house. You're going to want to do it multiple times so that you can see all the Cenobites who attack you, like the Chatterer, Pinhead, Female. I think, is it Fatso? Fat Boy? Oh, gosh, so now I'm like confusing it with Killer Clowns. So let me know if you are excited or terrified by Hellraiser. This is a gruesome house. Invasion, Alien, Abduction starts off with the facade, which puts us outside of a barn and a shed. There is a giant abduction claw, and actually, this utilizes a ton of pneumatics in here, so there's not as many like victims in a traditional like gory fashion. It's almost just like everybody's getting sucked up, right? So we do see this. It's Cars Land. Look, it's Piston Peak. We see like the lawnmower out there. And then again, this is that claw that will suck you up into the atmosphere. There's another one that they're doing an install on right here. As we head into the barn, the first thing that we see are like tools and tack on the wall. We couldn't take pictures in there, but we are being abducted by aliens, and every alien movie trope will be utilized in here. So I think this is going to be your fun house, like not too scary. They call all of the aliens Greys after Charles Gray, who's the show director for this house and for the event itself. So you see this little gray guy all the way at the top. And then we're going to see lots of animals through abductions. There's a goat that gets abducted. We also get to see some chickens down in the corner. But you can see that where it's slotted on that rail system. When the claw sucks you up, like you'll see that these characters will pneumatically shift in conjunction with sound and audio, or with visuals and audio. There's one of those claws. There's some hay on the bottom. We go outside into the laundry. For some reason, I saw a chicken bone. I don't think that was supposed to be there. I think that was just somebody's lunch. Then there was cactus. And then we head inside of the house. And we actually weren't able to show the kitchen, but the kitchen has a bunch of floating things, because what's eventually going to happen is the roof is going to rip off of this house and it's going to feel like the mothership's above us. But we ramp up into a section where if you look at the floor, it's going to shake. My cat's screaming. All the way at the top, you'll notice this green. Well, that is the technology of this like a tractor beam. So like the green is supposed to represent that as we head into the house. There is a mirror sequence, which looks like it'll be really cool to see the grays pop out of there, but that's the reason why the green is there. Then we also head into a basement. Oh, inside the kitchen scene, there's one section that shows off the fridge, and the fridge has children's drawings on it with a family, and then in the back is like a saucer. But then one of the coolest Easter eggs, and I want you to look for it in the upper right when you're in the house, it'll say Dr. O 911-2636, which is for the start of the event in 91, and then all the way to this year and this year's event. So I think that's cool. We do see a giant bedroom that's tilted, and that's also getting sucked up. There's also going to be a lot of things with cows because, like cows and abducting cows is a part of the alien tropes as well. Then we go into the basement. Basement has just essentially like a bunch of preserved pickles and snap peas and stuff like that. There was dog food. We don't know if there's going to be a dog in this scene, but there's one section where in the kitchen where dog bowls are like rising up. I think those will be like really cool. Just like probably the audio and the visuals of those things flying up will be really interesting. Then there's a staircase that goes up and out. There is a drip line, so there's going to be water dripping into this basement. And then we head outside to the final scene, which we were able to film in, which shows us a tree and one of these poor farmers being sucked up. And then it looks like mossy and kind of like almost camouflaged, but we could see this cowboy getting sucked up. A little bit closer details. There is a actor activated trigger all the way up here, which means that it gets activated by somebody up high. So that's going to be a stilt performer. So a very tall gray should close us out in this house. And then there's another farmer that's getting all whooshed out of this place, and some foliage and a garden hose. And that would be the end of that. Although I would say the ET is kind of the bike in the tree is kind of a little homage to ET. So there you go. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't think this is going to be like the scary house. This is definitely like your intermediate and like more fun house for HHN. You tell me what you think. So HR Bloodengutz, we're outside of WKNB Channel 21, which has been completely abandoned for the last 15 years. And Larry, aka HR Bloodengutz, has broken free from prison and used bolt cutters to get himself inside to do his final spooktacular. So we enter inside and they have just a bunch of photos on the wall. And then you'll notice that at the very top, it says Studio A and Studio B. This is like Slaughter Cinema. So you're going to be seeing B-roll movies, or not B-roll movies, but B movies, like the lesser, not as good movies. So we're going to go into Studio B. As we head on inside, we get to see where HR Bloodengutz is going to be standing. And we are going through several different movies. So there's movie posters on the walls representing the Midnight Horror Show, which is what Larry used to host after he got canceled. But when we're in here, there's lots of different cool little Easter eggy kind of things. Like the film reel that's up in the front actually has Spider-Man and Hobgoblin, like what you see in IOA, which is pretty dope. There's also 6 actor activated triggers right at the top, which you press those pedals and HR will have several different phrases that he says. So he's actually not mic'd up like an actor A. He's more like an actor B, which has to memorize lines but can interact. This is also where you'll find bats, recording equipment. There's also a GAT here next to these VHS tapes, which is a guest activated trigger. And there's a little spider above it. So we think that the spider is going to do something, and potentially water, because there is water mats on the floor for slippage. We see a little rubber chicken. We see knives. We see all of those actor activated triggers as well right here up close, and some bats. There's a guy off to the right. And then there's tons of these like little notes. I'll let you pause and read them because they're pretty long, but your show sucks. I hope it gets canceled is the one that I like the best on that star. So now we go into like little intermission scenes which show a TV, and you're going to have this for right before you go into the next film. And the first film, and if I screw up any of the films, I apologize. I took like notes and notes and notes and notes and notes, but trying to take photos and notes all at the same time is pretty challenging. So I was trying to write down as much as I could. The first movie is The Horseless Horseman. And we go into Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, and we actually do get to see there's a crow right up there. But it's like a covered bridge, and at the end of the bridge is a black lit horse. And that horse, if you remember, is actually from Hatchet and Chains last year. And there's a bunch of pumpkins on the walls. Then we go through another interstitial, I think is what they call them, like where it's like an in-between scene with a TV, and they're playing like basically the trailers of these B-roll movies. The next movie is called Monsters Night Out, where we get to see this. It's like a tiki monster movie where they all go out to a tiki bar, and there's this like gross siren mermaid who's holding a head, and then there's this mummy in the corner. Has an awesome Easter egg. I mean, there's so much just junk in here because it's like this dope tiki bar. But there's kind of like a reference to a pineapple under the sea. There's a hermit crab, like for Mr. Krabs. Like there's all this little SpongeBob-y stuff. And then you get a mummy in here. And then on the other side, adjacently, there is a tiki mug that's supposed to represent Jack, which I thought was really cool. You see like these bucket of fish heads and all the stirring sticks, the swizzle sticks. And there's the mermaid a little bit better and up close. And then last but not least is the bathroom with this poor victim right here. Then we head into, I think this one is the Cult of the Pumpkin Lord or something like that. We see Mrs. Carver's pumpkins and we see this victim. Pumpkin seeds are right next to her, poor Mrs. Carver. There is going to be a water effect here. There is another water mat, and it's actually going to be coming out of her little arm. Remember, this is all fake. Then we get to see these like occultish followers of the Pumpkin Lord who are wearing gourds on their heads, but they're very demonic and decaying like skeletons as we head into this barn area. The Teefers be teething up in here. It's almost like the teeth too kind of look like pumpkin seeds, which I think is neat. And then they do have a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns. My favorite little Easter egg in here as well is the one occultish member is wearing a little Boo shirt, which is very fun. Now, little Boo is not in this section. You can find him over at Cabana Bay at that bar, but that guy's been like skewered. And then we head into this poor lady's stuck in a gourd. Not great. And this guy's being drained by hanging by his feet. And then you actually see the Pumpkin Lord will be here. There will be lots of different sayings that he has. I pray that he says, "Give me more Halloween," which I don't know how you get more of October 31st. There's 24 hours in a day unless you get in a plane. Maybe it just goes around and he gets a full 48. I don't really know. But on the bottom, there's an Easter egg for the Blinky Cups. So you'll see 2 of the years for Halloween Horror Nights Blinky Cups. And then our next one is, we couldn't film in this one. It was Astral Force, which is like a Ouija board. It's a game that lets you summon ghouls. And there's like a witch lady and a kid in a skeleton costume. And they're both like being demonically, I guess like ghouls are taking over them. But I don't really know what else is in that scene. Then the next one is Schoolhouse Resurrection, which we could take photos in. This is a schoolroom, and then there's like a witch, and the teacher is a witch, and she's trying to escape. I think it was the Terror Queen. I'm not really sure, but there's blacklight effects in here, and there's lots of kids all dressed up for Halloween. And it does say Gorewood. There is some history in here as well. As you flip through, you can pause and read what's in the books, but it's like from blood to stone, All Hallows Eve, from deep within the Gorewood root, from Iron Torn, and there's some sort of incantation. The teacher is going to be on pneumatics and float, so it should be a very creepy reveal. And one of the kids is saying, I don't like it. I don't like it. And then last but not least, the creation of Dr. Pumpkin Spice. And it's actually going to smell good in here. They are pumping out on the Java meter pumpkin spice. So it'll smell like pumpkin spice coffee in there, which I think is actually quite lovely. You see a bunch of different coffee beans. All of these lines are going to glow and be like an orangey red LED. And then that is Frankenspice. She's a creation from Dr. Pumpkin Spice. I'm just telling you what it is. It looks very fun, but this is very kitschy. And then at the very end, we couldn't film. You will get one of 2 endings. You'll either get the Feaster Bunny or you will get an evil elf to end it off. So are you excited about HR Bloodengutz Spooktacular? I think this is, if you're a fan of Slaughter Cinema, you will love this one.